There's a lot of worry that maybe things are not going to be so good for them or for their kids, that manifests itself in the support of candidates like Trump on the right or Sanders on the left. Excuse me, I've been talking all day. So,
no problem.
I will sip and talk here. Well, somebody else can talk for a minute here. Ed Rendell can talk.
Come on.
Always. Bring me up.
Come on, Ed.
It is important to recognize what's going on in this election. Everybody who's ever been in any election that I'm aware of is quite bewildered, because there is a strain of, on the one hand, a kind of populist, nationalist, xenophobic, discriminatory kind of approach that we hear too much of from the Republican candidates. And on the other side, there's just a deep desire to believe that we can have free college, free health care, that what we've done hasn't gone far enough, and we just need to go as far as Scandinavia, whatever that means. And half the people don't know what it means, but it is something that they deeply feel. Here's what I think is going on, and I think we'll have to do more research and understand it better. I think you're really onto something. There is a sense of disappointment among young people about politics, and there are a lot of different reasons for it. Some take the position that they were for President Obama and he didn't revolutionize our country. The poor man faced implacable hostility and got a lot done and deserves an enormous amount of credit. But the idea that somehow the Affordable Care Act or saving the economy were not big enough accomplishments is just bewildering to me.
Yeah.
Because I know how hard it was and what a touch-and-go deal it was. Some are new to politics completely. They're children of the Great Recession, and they are living in their parents' basement. They feel that they got their education and the jobs that are available to them are not at all what they envisioned for themselves, and they don't see much of a future. I met with a group of young black millennials today, and one of the young women said, none of us feel like we have the job that we should have gotten out of college. And we don't believe that the job market is going to give us much of a chance. So that is a mindset that is really affecting their politics. And so if you're feeling that you're consigned to, being a barista or, some other job that doesn't pay a lot and doesn't have much of a ladder of opportunity attached to it, then the idea that maybe, just maybe, you could be part of a political revolution is pretty appealing. I mean, I'm still trying to understand the revolution part, because here's how I think about it. And Senator Sanders sort of alludes to this. In order to have the revolution, first we have to take back the Senate and get to 60 votes. Then we've got to take back the House. And that may require some redistricting in order to get people out of safe Republican seats so they can be competitive again. I think we're already in like year 6 or 7 of a 2-year term. So, those of us who understand this, who've been experienced, who've worked in it, know that it's a false promise. But I don't think you tell idealistic people, particularly young people, that they bought into a false promise. You try to do the best you can to say, hey, that's his view, that's what he is offering you. But here's another way where actually we can achieve a lot of what we have said starting day one.
This will be our last question.
Oh, too many hands. Okay, I see. Okay. If you ask real quick questions, I will give you real quick answers. So you,
three really quick.
you, and then I saw that your hand was, yes. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Very quickly, Madam Secretary, Ayana Dunn. I work with Morgan Stanley. Spent a lot of my career advising large companies on mergers and acquisitions. We hear a lot about corporate inversions in the news, and whether you agree or disagree, the reason that they're happening is because there are, how shall I say, some inefficiencies with the corporate tax code. So wanted to get your thoughts on reform of that, going forward?
Well, we're going to have to reform the tax code because it's just not working for us. We're not, the effective tax rate is very low, but the stated tax rate is among the highest in the world. We've got to figure out what we're going to do about that. But I do have to say, it really bothers me the way a lot of American companies are behaving right now. And Johnson Controls is the perfect example. I mean, okay, 2008, auto industry on the brink of total collapse. The auto companies, the suppliers, they all come to Washington. They go talk to everybody. The Republicans say, let them fail. President Obama and the Democrats say, okay, millions of jobs, we're going to try to save you, but here are the conditions. Made the investment. It turned out to be a good investment. They actually paid it back to the Treasury early. And now the auto industry is flourishing. So Johnson Controls is one of the auto parts companies based in Wisconsin. They are in business today because you and I bailed them out. That is just a fact. And they are returning the favor because, look, a lot of I want to get to a point where we set a tax rate and people have to pay it and there's no gamesmanship and there's no gimmickry. And I do think it's kind of a high-priced sport for a lot of these guys. Like, who can avoid the most taxes? That's the game that's being played. So all of a sudden, they say they're going to pretend to sell themselves to a company in Europe. They're going to pretend to move their headquarters there in order to avoid paying taxes to the United States government, which actually saves them. So you wonder why people get angry and upset, and here's a perfect example. So yes, we have to change the way we tax corporations, business income. I'm not going to, say tonight what I would do because I think it has to be part of an overall kind of global deal. We have to bring back the stranded cash and try to put it to work in this country because there's a lot that could be done with it. One of the creative ideas I like is using some of it to fund a national infrastructure bank, which would come back at a much lower rate than whatever the rate is we set. But it is going to be difficult. And what I wish that companies like Johnson Controls and others would be doing is coming up with a really smart plan that would find favor among people who want us to, drive business activity in the United States, want us to remain the center of capital and entrepreneurship. So yes, you have to pay some taxes because we got a government to support here, and a lot of what made you successful is what you inherited. You had nothing to do with making. But let's come up with a plan that we then can have a real honest debate about. By the time the Republicans get through rolling that down your TV screens about 30 times a day and talk a lot about socialism and come up with pictures of Bernie visiting Russia during the Cold War and all of that, it is not a pleasant sight or idea to behold. So I think the chances are really, really, really low. Now, look, they could nominate Trump, and then who knows what might happen. I still think, it would be really, really low. But that's one of the reasons why I feel so strongly about this, because we have to win this election. We have to have a Democrat in the White House to succeed President Obama. So right now, and this is a little known, reported upon fact, Republicans are spending millions of dollars against me. And one of the clever ways they're doing it is trying to build him up. So you've got, hedge fund billionaires, you've got Karl Rove, you've got all the candidates. There were more attack ads about me in New Hampshire than against each other among the Republican crew. Because, they see the same general election research that I do. And, any one of them, I think, would really have a hard time beating me in the fall. And so from my perspective,